Good day, everybody, and welcome to episode 46 of my YouTube video series. And today we're going to cover a topic about the Singapore property market. And basically, it's my opinion why the PLH housing model is actually a cooling measure for the Singapore property market, right? PLH refers to the prime location housing in Singapore. This was introduced actually maybe a year or two back. Recently, in August, it got a bit more details where it introduced another level called Plus. So we have Prime, Plus, and Standard. In case you haven't been hearing about it, this video will explain to you what Prime, Plus, and housing BTO will be, right? And I'll tell you why this introduction by the Singapore government is actually a cooling measure for property market in Singapore. So as per usual, let's start this video with an introduction on myself.
Director of Alpha Marketing,
Ryan. Still in Malaysia. So my name is Ryan. Was I Ryan?
6,000 incoming supply in Johor. This is
I'm writing. Thank you for attending today's presentation on Skandar, Malaysia.
So my name is Ryan Khoo. I'm a property investor. I'm also a property agent in Singapore with ERA. And today, of course, these views are the views of my own, my private views only. And as a property investor, I have done a lot of real estate transactions in Singapore as well as in Malaysia. I've written articles for HProp. I've done also events for Property Guru, iProperty, ST Property in Singapore as well as in Malaysia. I'm well known for promoting Malaysian real estate, especially Johor Bahru, for Singapore residents. But today's topic we're going to cover about Singapore. And yeah, I'm a property investor first. I'm a property agent second. And of course, we do real estate transactions for owners, whether in Singapore or in Malaysia, private or condo or HDB, right? Feel free to contact me if you find our content interesting and you want more direct personal advice on how to conduct your real estate portfolio management in Singapore as well as Malaysia. So let us start with today's topic, which is basically why I consider the prime location housing model, the PLH model, to be a cooling measure for the Singapore property market, and why this will affect or moderate the Singapore property market in the years to come. In case you're not familiar with the PLH model, so basically it was introduced by the government about a year or two back ago, where government tried to say that certain HDB flats, especially those in super prime location, and when we say super prime location, we're referring to places like Marina Bay. As you know, Marina Bay going to have HDB soon, right? Places like Keppel area, very prime location in the city. Government want to make sure that this kind of flat not the same as other flats in other parts of Singapore. So, well, ultimately, from Singapore government's perspective, HDB is or public housing is for people to stay, not for something for you to make money, right? So what happened in August this year, during National Day rally, the government again introduced a new set of more details, basically on how this PLH model works. So in case you have totally no idea what PLH is, this video should explain to you at some level, help you understand better what the PLH model is like. So traditionally, Singapore government or HDB classify flats as in mature and non-mature. So mature means areas which are more prime, and then non-mature is the more ulu locations in Singapore. So we're going to change that now. There will no longer be mature and non-mature classification. Government will now have three classifications, which is standard, plus, and prime. So standard is actually similar to the current situation where you buy HDB standard restrictions today, no change, right? With a 5-year MOP. This slide which I'm showing you here actually is quite a good slide from the ministry that explains the differences between the three. So this, like what today, there's a if you buy BTO from HDB, there's a 5-year MOP. After that, you can sell, or you can choose out to rent out the entire flat if you move to another place, right? So basically, this is a standard, and standard will apply to still the majority of new flats coming to Singapore. But basically, this will be areas which are further away. You can assume like Woodlands, Tengah, maybe even Punggol to some level. Further away, Choa Chu Kang, all this, right? Bukit Panjang, all this will probably still, or Jurong East, Jurong West, this will probably still be standard, right? And of course, any flats which are probably not near MRT, maybe location not so good, right? This will all still be standard. So government now will have two more levels after standard, which is plus. So plus is a better location. So typically this will be a flat maybe near MRT or near Central. Like for example, Ang Mo Kio Central, Tampines Central, Clementi Central, all this area, right, cannot be standard because these are near MRT, near amenities. right? A bit more prime location, even though you can argue Clementi or Ang Mo Kio or Tampines is a bit far away from town. But because they're a bit more prime area, so government may consider them to be plus. So what happens when they are plus, right? the first thing of the government is that they will add more subsidies. So government will still try to sell you these flats cheaper, not as expensive as they would because of the prime location. So still give you more subsidies versus market price, right? So compared to a resale flat, government will try to sell it much cheaper than the resale flats. But government will also add more restrictions. So what restrictions? Basically, there's a couple I can highlight. Basically, 4 key restrictions over here. The main restriction number 1 is that a resale buyer, if you see here, when they buy from you, they are also subject to the income ceiling of $14,000 per month. So the buyer that buy from you next time when you want to sell, this buyer also got income ceiling one. Also, we don't want to sell to people who are too rich, who earn a lot of money, right? So there's an income ceiling for the buyer that buy this flat from you in the future, right? Well, whereas for standard, if you see standard, there's no such thing, no income ceiling, right? Standard flat, any income ceiling, anybody also can buy. But for plus flat, there is income ceiling for the buyer come after you. Number 2 is there's a subsidy recovery. So subsidy recovery means that when you sell this flat, you have to pay a certain percent back to government. Okay, it means the government claw back some profit from you. They don't let you take all the profit. The government will take back some profit from you. So there's a subsidy recovery when you sell. Okay, this is number 2. Okay, number 3, 10-year MOP. That means when you buy this flat and you get the keys, you have to stay in it for 10 years instead of 5. Today is normally 5. So for plus flats, it will be 10 years, right, before you can move out or sell, right? And number 4 is there is no whole flat rental. So after 10 years MOP, right, and you want to rent out, you cannot rent out the entire flat. You can only rent out rooms. So effectively, government tie you back to the flat. So even though MOP 10 years, you still have to so-called stay in this unit, right? Because you cannot rent out the whole flat, so you keep one room, you can rent out the other rooms, but you must keep minimum one room for yourself in a sense, right? So you cannot rent out the entire flat, you can only rent out rooms. So there's no like rental income from this flat from a whole flat basis moving forward. So these are the 4 main differentiating factors for plus and prime versus the standard. Now you see prime, right? It's even more tighter. So they have for singles only 7,000, and then of course the subsidy recovery here will be higher. Government will claw back even more money, right? And of course MOP and nothing is the same. But of course prime super prime area, right? We're saying like earlier that what I was saying, Marina Bay and so on. But you can see prime, choices and most central locations in Singapore. So plus is choice location within East region. So like I said, Queenstown, near MRT, this will consider probably still be plus. So that will give you a good idea of what the 3 new models will be like. And starting from 2024, actually you will start to see a lot more plus and prime flats, right, in Singapore. Of course, standard will still be the majority, right? But again, nice flats right now, right, will now be plus and prime. So the intention of why government do this, right, or why government intend to do this, because government feel that a lot of owners, in a simple layman word, make too much money when you sell a HDB. Right? I think they say, oh, angry, government don't let me make money from my HDB. But ultimately, that is what they're doing, right? If you want to 讲难听, trying to say in a more not so nice way to say, or more plain speak, right? Governments want to mitigate the windfall effect. So they use more flowery word, right? Mitigate windfall effect. So basically, if you sell your flat, don't make so much money. Make some money, okay. Don't make too much money, right? So government feel you make too much money. Some people make too much money when they sell HDB flat. So it is a form of cooling measure by doing this. And I'll explain to you why it is a cooling measure, right? Okay, let's move on. So number one is the buyer that buy from you, if you buy plus or prime, can only have income ceiling of 14,000. So 14,000 income ceiling means, and I have done some math here, right? Assuming this buyer that buy from you in the future, 80% loan, and we assume the standard today, 30% MSR with 4% interest rates, right? The maximum price that you can sell, assuming best case scenario, your buyer is 35 and below, right? And maximum income, that means this buyer, this couple that can buy from you in the future, their income is max 14K, right? And they are young. Wow, that means they could be very successful people. 35 below already earn 14K as a couple, right? They can maximum buy from you, assuming you take HDB loan 80%, max loan, 1.09 million only, So you have this cap, in a sense the cap is 1.09 million. You cannot sell higher. So if you sell higher than this, there's no buyer that qualify. There's no buyer that qualify to buy, right? So this is the cap, 1.09 million. Number 2 is if you go to more other realistic scenarios, like buyer only earn 10,000 but still young, right, 35 and below and earn 10K, which is a bit more realistic, I guess. You can only sell at 775. If the buyers are older, 40, right, then because of the loan tenure shorter, they can only buy at 700 at 6,000. So you have this cap, how much you can actually sell your flat. I'm assuming here, yeah, whatever this is probably nearer to 4-room prices, right? But this is the cap, right, that you can logically sell in the future, right? If somebody want to buy from you next time, right? You have a so-called cap built in because of the way of the 14,000 income ceiling. Then you will say, Ryan, how about people if they put up more down payment, which is possible, yeah. So people, if they want to buy your resale flat from you at a higher price, they have to put up more down payment, or if they want to offer more than this price, so they have to come up with 30%, 40% down payment, right? Take a lower loan, right? Then they can buy your flat at a higher price. So, but my point is, by putting this 14,000 income sitting there, yeah, you already limit a large chunk of your buyer from being able to offer a high price, right? So you have to, if you want a high price beyond 1.09 million or more, or generally higher range of this, right, you need buyer to put up more cash, which makes it more difficult for you, basically speaking. And if you ask me, right, government already put this price range because they know, for one thing, if you look at let's look at the December BTO launch, right, which just came out a couple of days ago. So there's 2 PLH housing here, one in Bukit Merah, one in Queenstown. You can see for the 4-room flat, their price is already 920 to 1.088 million, here 850 to 1.04 million. So these 2 prices which I highlight in circle here is what similar resale flats are selling nearby. So these are what people are transacting in the market today for the same 4-room flat. So government is saying, if you notice this 1.09 million or 77 plus, it's a similar range. So government is actually saying, cap the price. If today market price is this range, 920 to 1.0 something million, right? Government say this is the max, or near the max. We're not going to allow prices to move very much from what the prices are today, right? Which is what you will see Bukit Merah, Queenstown, right? Similar transaction for older flat, right? Is a similar flat, right? Is 9 plus to 1 million. Here also same 800 plus to 1 million. So you can see what are they selling these flat prices at? They are selling from, you can see the indicative range from HDB, right? 533 to 723, 598 to 763. So you can see if you buy this PLH flat, you apply for the BTO for this PLH, you get it, right? And you're paying somewhere around this range. You're paying somewhere around this range for the 4-room flats. Notice that your capital gain is capped, right? Because you understand you have to hold this for 10 years, MOP 10 years, 5 construction, 10-year MOP, right? And you have this the buyer from you also got limitation. So you can see your your capital gain is capped. So government is saying, can let you make money, but don't let you make so much. Okay, and this is before the second problem, which is the recovery, right? The subsidy recovery. So as mentioned earlier, if you buy a PLH flat, whether plus or prime, when you sell it, government will claw back a subsidy. So how much has the subsidy been so far? So far in all this PLH that we have seen opened up by HDB so far, the resale that the so-called the clawback is 6%. They've indicated that some will go up to 8%. So you expect a 6 to 8% clawback. So just now that price you sell here, let's say you sell $1 million, right? You still have to give back 6 to 8% to HDB, right? Which is already one thing, because you already waited 10 years in a sense. 10 years MOP, right? Then you have to give back 6% to HDB, maybe 8, right? And then of course you bought higher in the first place. Okay, not so high. Actually, this price, if you ask me, for plus location, prime location, to me is still, in my opinion, still affordable. Singapore public housing overall is still very affordable ultimately for the money that you pay. But I mean, your capital gain is now so-called more controlled, more capped, right? Because you have to pay back these there's a cap, right? Because the buyer can only buy from you with a 14,000 maximum income, right? And you have to pay back this subsidy recovery, 6 to 8%, and then, like I said, 10 years MOP. So why 10 years MOP is an issue? Let me explain. Now, when you apply for a BTO, right, you typically have to wait a 4 to 5 year construction period. Sometimes a bit of waiting time plus construction period. Now the range is normally 4 or 5 years, right? Let's say 5 years, right, plus a 10-year MOP. So we assume, let's say you're 25 years old, right, which is probably around the majority or median age of people who apply for BTO, right? 25 years old. So at 25, you apply BTO, right? You get your keys 5 years later at 30, right? 30 years old, so you get married, etc. You get married, let's say you get married at 30. Then you have an MOP 10 years. So by the time you can sell your flat, you're 40 years old already. So there's 2 things that happen. When you're 40 years old, or when you BTO, or when you stay in the flat for 10 years, a lot of things can happen. 10 years is a long time. Your needs may change, first of all, right? You may not like this location anymore, or you stay this flat. The day you get the keys and you go in, oh yeah, I don't like my neighbor, I don't like the view. There's something that you didn't foresee earlier, right, in the flat that you buy. But you bo pian, no, you have to stay 10 years, like it or not, have to stay 10 years, unless you have some really good reason to tell HDB why you need to move, right? But you are stuck in this flat or tied to this flat for 10 years, which is a long time. Already 5-year MOP, some people complain sometimes, 10-year MOP even longer. So if you have whatever reason where your needs change or your requirements change, or you simply don't like where you're staying, you are stuck for 10 years, right? And you cannot run, right? 10 years is a long time. You can't even, that bear through it for a 5-year period. So it's double, right? Also, the other thing is when you finally can sell, and you in this case likely to be 40 years old and probably older also, if you wait a bit after you sell. So you're 40 years old, and then you must remember banks in Singapore, when they lend money to you, right? You want to get a maximum loan, 30 years, you have to be 35 or younger. 35, because banks lend up to age 65. So if you want a 30-year loan, you have to be 35 plus 30, also 65, right? So if you're 40 years old, bank only lend you 25-year loan. So when bank give you 25-year loan, what happens? Your repayment will go up. And when your repayment go up means what? You can only borrow less. You can't borrow as much than what you hope to be able to borrow if you had a 30-year longer loan, you see. So 25-year loan means ultimately means what? You can only borrow less. When you can borrow less means what? What you can buy later also will have to be less. Okay, that means initially if you got 30-year loan, you can borrow an additional 200,000, for example. Now because you loan only 25 years, you can only borrow you can't borrow the additional 200,000. So because of that, your budget to buy in the future will also be capped, right? Because you're already older, right? So this is another indirect way government slash your budget. If you sell your PLH flat and you want to buy next time, your budget to buy in the future also will not be as big as you think because of your older age. And of course, number 4, I think this is quite self-explanatory. You cannot rent out the whole unit, right? So if even if you intend to keep your PLH as a rental income, right, you can only rent out room. You cannot do whole unit, right? So that is also will also affect the amount of income or the rental income you can collect from this flat. So in summary, there are 4 things that I can say that we can summarize from this PLH housing. Number 1 is HDB more and more become a place to stay for own use, and less become a place to make money. Because I think in Singapore, there's still a lot of this mindset, at least for the past 10, 20 years maybe, that you buy a flat, you buy a BTO, right? You wait 5 years MOP, 5 years construction, 5 years MOP. After that, you sell, I make big money. Okay, I think and a lot of people do make big money, right? So I have an owners. We've seen all this, right? You've heard your friends. I have a listing today in Ghim Moh and Queenstown, right? Where I think the owner also make a lot of money, and I'm selling this flat for $900,000+, right? This owner definitely, in terms of ROI, had a very big ROI from this. So he's very lucky he managed to get through this. But moving forward, government don't want this to happen, right? So government is saying homes, a property is something for you to stay. It's not something for you to speculate to make money, which I understand, right? Of course, any government, they cannot say all houses for you to make money. So this is definitely something we applaud the Singapore government for doing, to ensure that young people, especially the future generations, have affordable housing and houses are really a place to stay. And ultimately, if you look at HDB as something to make money, take note that your return will be capped in the future. We won't say no return, still can make money, but won't make as much as before. This is very likely the scenario that we will see moving forward. This is conclusion number 1. So how do you avoid this problem if you still want to make money, right? So the one option is you buy standard flat. That means you don't go and buy prime or plus, right? You don't buy PLH housing. If you buy PLH housing, because you have all these restrictions, you cannot make much money. So you go and buy standard flat, right? Which are as per the current flats today. And again, still the majority of all BTOs in Singapore. So you buy a standard flat, but you have to pick better. You have to pick standard flat that got more chance to appreciate, right? Which one that will be is difficult to say. I think that depends on every BTO launch, right? But buy standard flats that got chance to go up, maybe Tengah, right? Because if you assume Tengah will become like Punggol in the future, then maybe buy flats in Tengah is one way to look at it. Because although Tengah today may not be very prime or convenient, but if it becomes like Punggol in the future, there's a lot of upside potential there. So you buy standard flats still, don't buy PLH if you want to make money, right? But of course you have to pick the standard flat well. Number 3 is actually what a lot of people are doing today. Short term, right now we see that a lot of demand for resale flats in good location. That means the flat actually today by government standard this should be plus or prime. Okay, but because they are older flat from the previous era, right? So good location but still follow old rules. So that's why you see a lot of demand now buying for flats like this, which are prime location plus location but older rules. So you can buy this as well, right? As one way to get into the market without getting affected by PLH ruling. And fourth thing I want to say is that if you think about it, right, because there will be a significant, I mean, what's significant, some portion of the market who are buying PLH flats in the future, the private property market will be affected by this at least 10 to 15 years from now. At least 10 to 15 years from now, you will see the private property market start to get affected for this. Why 10 years? Because number one is MOP longer now. So a lot of people, right, who sell flat, right, they MOP 5 years and then they sell. Right, so now because MOP come 10 years, we have to wait longer. So there'll be some period in the future where we thought all people MOP there, but haven't MOP yet, have to wait some more. So no transaction. So wait right? And then this will affect private property market because upgraders will not happen, right, from that group of people. And number two is also by that 15 years appear, and then you realize all people when they want to upgrade they can't upgrade as easily as they thought as they would because of all these restrictions by the PLH. So end up a lot may not want to upgrade, continue to stay in their PLH flat. So this would have an impact cascade down into private property transactions. So of course this is a long-term thing. We won't see it happen right now. It's another 10-15 years away kind of effect. We can only to some level speculate, but I think it's quite clear from this rule this will definitely indirectly impact private property market. So this is why I say Singapore government very smart, right? They can think of this kind of cooling measure. Don't look like cooling measure, but actually it's a cooling measure, right? And it's a long-term cooling measure, have no direct impact today, but long-term it will make the market healthier in a sense, especially for owner-occupier. You buy to stay one, right? You feel very strongly that house is something to stay. And I understand that's a correct thinking also, it's not wrong, right? Then you shouldn't try to make big money out of your property, right? Of course, there's another camp people that think separately, right? But if you are owner-occupier, I think it's good news for you, right? Because in the future, we can expect, especially public housing flats, prices to be more moderated in the future, will not be spiking so much like in the past 1-2 years. So thank you very much for watching today's video. If you found it entertaining or useful, or if any comments on my my slides, or if you felt there was some inaccuracies or things you want to add on, feel free to comment in my YouTube channel below, YouTube comments below. Our YouTube channel has been doing very well recently with a lot of new followers. Thank you very much for watching. And if you enjoy our content, do like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel here, Alpha Marketing. We appreciate all your subscriptions and of course your sharing to your friends. And you can also join us on our Facebook channel, Malaysian Investors in Singapore. You can scan here on a QR code to get onto our mailing list as well, where we do send out regular emails or news regarding the Singapore and Malaysian property markets. Or feel free to contact me at my number there, 81261626. Happy to chat with you if any questions, especially if you need help or advice on your real estate matters in Singapore. Thank you very much and bye-bye.